Welcome. I'm Dan Vega, and I wanted to introduce you to the Business Ethics and Knowledge Network, or what we like to refer to as BEAKN. I also wanted to take a few minutes to explain the value of BEAKN and what some of the deliverables are for our members. But before I get to the value, why BEAKN? What's the purpose of our organization? Well, in simple terms, if you look around the world and the state of affairs today, our leaders are failing us. I'm not going to get into religion or politics, but if you look at it's become a money grab. If you even look at the big world of business and who's in charge, our moral compass has become more about what's legal or illegal. And we all know that just because something may be legal, it doesn't make it ethical. If we also look at the temperature of economic conditions around the world and where people are at in their consciousness, we're fed up with the same old thing. We don't want a repackaged version of what we already have. It's time for something new. And that's what BEAKN provides. In fact, if you really think about impact and having a mass change, whether it be nationally or globally, how do you facilitate mass change, right? Well, some might think, and I've had friends that think maybe walking through that door when it comes to religion or maybe politics, maybe that's where we can affect a lot of change. But honestly, if you really understand how those things work, it's a rigged game. And I think people, even with the greatest of intentions, might not realize the lack of power they truly have serving in those capacities, right? Business, on the other hand, is a way that we can really affect our communities and beyond with an increase in ethics and values. And in fact, you might think, like, why would business be the right door to affect such a positive change, to affect things at a massive scale? But if you think about it, if you ask somebody what they do for a living, right, or even just ask somebody, what do you do? What's the general response? They tell you what they do for a living. Right? What do you do? I do this. Whether we will admit it or not, we can all talk about work-life balance, but our jobs or what we do for a living has become definitive of who we are as people. We might not admit that, but that's really become a place today where we live. Right? And so since it occupies such a large percentage of our time, what we don't realize is we're letting other companies largely set our value system and our ethics. You might not fully realize that, but they're setting parameters saying, here's what we want you to do under these conditions to earn this money. And we're either going to be okay with it or not okay. We're going to say, well, I can get down with this, and they do write my check so I can do this. For others, they might say, I'm not willing to do that. Right? But we're letting them establish at least part of our value system. And again, since it's such an occupied space, it's where we spend so much time, those values and ethics, or we could say at least those parameters, come down into the family unit and then into our communities abroad. So if we think about it, we're letting big business have at least a say in what becomes eventually part of our family values and our ethics in our communities.